2019, BBC shut down its Scottish variant of BBC Two and replaced it with the BBC Scotland channel, with viewers now having to watch the networking BBC Two in England. Here's the story, so subscribe to LelandDJF, Look Around Scottish. We begin in 2007. For some reason, as the division BBC Scotland had operate BBC One and BBC Two Scotland, but then they launched the Gaelic channel BBC Alba, a mix of Scottish Gaelic programming. Previously, some selected shows made in Gaelic were aired on BBC Two Scotland dubbed BBC Two Alba. And while BBC Alba was launched a year later in 2008, BBC Two Alba continued into its channel's closure and replaced by BBC Scotland, but we will get to that in a moment. So BBC ran multiple channels with one under another: BBC One Scotland, BBC Two Scotland, BBC Alba and BBC Two Alba, but that is under Two Scotland. So what about the closure of BBC Two? Well, in 2017, BBC Director General Lorg announced that the corporation planned to replace BBC Two Scotland with a new part-time BBC Scotland television channel focused exclusively on Scottish channel. It would launch with a national UK, Scottish and international news programmes called The Nine. This would have been the Scottish Six, but what is the Scottish Six? The Scottish Six was a proposed national news programme covering UK, Scottish and international news stories, pitched to replace BBC Reporting Scotland and Scotland airing of BBC News at 6, which I, honest opinion, now STV experimentary. This concapped with STV News Tonight, which aired on STV2, which if you want to see the failure of STV2, I've got a video on Look Around Scottish, so you watch it back to which Hall also announced that the BBC would decrease its overspending on fictional and drama productions in Scotland by £20 million annually. Ofcom eventually approved the idea in 2018, but showed concerns for its proposed and dedicated half its lineup to the new programmes, seeing as remove potential opportunities for independents have and other broadcasters, with the former expression concerns that the BBC would poach employees from newspapers to build its expanding Expedia Scotland news operation. Ofcom granted final approval to the service in June 2018. The BBC Subtrax announced a planned launch for February 2019. The channel will be allocated £32 million in annual funding. So that's what plans was. BBC Two Scotland was set to place by BBC Scotland. With this, that means we see BBC Two replace Two Scotland and EPG. Well, yes, it did, but in 2018, just months before, BBC Two Scotland died. BBC launched a new semi-class channel, BBC Two Northern Ireland HD and BBC Two Wales HD, but BBC Two Scotland HD didn't exist. So BBC Two Scotland was mainly on SD, But to be honest with you, when BBC One Scotland HD was launched in 2013, we should have BBC Two One Scotland HD launch launch with it, and BBC Two Northern Ireland HD should. But let's move on the day it closed. Just a week till BBC Scotland launched, BBC played its final ident for BBC Two Scotland on 18th February, and this is what the final link of BBC Two Scotland looks like.
Just before our Frank Williams documentary, this is a final goodbye from us here on BBC Two Scotland. Thank you for watching. It's been a real privilege to broadcast to you all these years. And we've much more to look forward to when our new channel, BBC Scotland, launches next Sunday. But back to tonight, and with some strong language and some scenes which some viewers may find upsetting. It's Williams, Formula One in the blood. Good night.
After that, BBC Two Scotland closed and BBC Scotland came alive on the following Sunday. But here's the weird part. BBC Two Scotland hadn't died till the end of the month. In BBC Two Scotland was still on 102 Sky Guide or 970 for other regions, and similar to BBC Three, which had a ghost programming schedule after it closed till March 31st, 2016, and BBC Two Scotland had done it also, but BBC Two Scotland and BBC Two England was mostly semi-casted and on at the end of February, BBC Two Scotland was fully gone. So there we go, that's the closure of BBC Two Scotland. So to be honest, I was speaking with Leland when we wrote this. I said about bringing it back so that there would be 4 channels: BBC Scotland, BBC Two Scotland, BBC Scotland and BBC Alba. But do you think BBC made the right call of getting rid of BBC Two Scotland? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching this video on Look Around Scottish, and I'm Brody. Catch you in the next one. That's from me. Goodbye.